All right, everyone. So welcome to today's session. So we are back with our third-party vendor risks slide or videos. As I said, we'll do our best to put some information that way you guys can have a head start as to what third party is all about. But a lot of the information will be uploaded on our website. And as I said, for you to fully benefit on third party, you need to understand all the core regulatory frameworks because again, if you do not understand, then it's going to be hard, right? You need to understand, and though there might be issues of two reports, it still has to do with security controls. Know what part you all will have to play, say the user entity organization, and then you have your the service organization, that's your third party, and the sub-service organization, that's your fourth party. But let's talk about the management responsibility during the SOC 2 report. What management as a user entity, what are you guys going to be doing? Say you are helping an organization to achieve SOC 2 report. You guys want to get SOC 2 certification. So what will you all do to make sure that you can achieve that report? And that's why they say, for example, during the SOC 2 examination, being UST, this at the level of the service organization, service organization, UST, right? UST will do it, and the UST will have to service user entity, like the different user. But let's say you're working for an organization that needs to achieve SOC 2 report. So what are you going to do, right? And now I say UST management is responsible for several important tasks. This include preparing, documenting, as well as providing necessary information to the service auditor. And we have a breakdown of the full responsibility that UST management will have to do. First one, they have to prepare the system descriptions. I believe we already mentioned this. It all starts with the level of the system description because we need to first of all understand what that system will be doing. And that's why they say UST must prepare a clean and accurate description of its system. This includes ensuring that the description is complete, accurate, as well as well presented, right? So for example, UST needs to provide a detailed description of its cloud hosting services, including security control and data handling processes. Everything has to be transparent. And that's why you see clear and accurate system description. What is that system doing? And come to think of it now, it's not like UST on its own has a SOC 2 report. That particular system do, okay, or does have a SOC 2 report, okay? Also providing written assertion, I guess assertion that we've already discussed on that, where UST will have to confirm that the system description are also accurate and complete, and the assertion accompanying description is shared with the report user, because report users, that's the entity users. That's, for example, if you have another company, UST is trying to get a SOC 2 type 2 report, guess what? Once we have this report, then again, we need to make sure that the assertion accompany the description and is shared with the report users, that's the entity users. Report user, people that are going to be taking this report to be able to check to make sure everything is good. For example, USO will assess that the security measurement described in the system are accurate and reflect current practices. And even when they have those written assertion, we'll go very soon. We'll also check the auditor's responsibilities. So you also want to check to make sure that that assertion is accurate, right? The auditor will also need to make the decision if they want to go with UST or not, okay? And then we also talk of identifying risks, right? UST will also have to identify any risks. UST also have to identify any risks that might prevent it from meeting its service commitment and system requirement. For example, if UST relies on external vendors for backup services, remember that's why we spend so much time talking about inclusiveness and inclusive as well as keep out method. So if UST is also partnering or have a vendor or relies on this vendor to perform their backup services, they need to be able to assess the risks. It's important because without backup, if something fail and you don't have your backup is corrupted, then that's it. You'll not be able to recover and restore from it. That's why if you all have WhatsApp, the one reason that you also take your backups in a situation where you don't like, maybe you misplace your phone, then you can definitely, with the help of your backup, the backup that you'll be taking using your email, you should be able to recall, restore, recover from that backup. And that's why I say UST will also need to assess the risks that the vendor might not meet a commitment, such as backup completion times, right? And then designing and implementing effective control. UST must also ensure that it has control in place that are designed to meet the service commitment and system requirement. These controls must be operating effectively to provide assurance to the service auditor, right? Again, make sure that controls are designed and they are also effective, not just saying that those controls have been designed, they'll be implemented, but still are they functional? And that's why, say, for example, UST might implement multi-factor authentication or MFA to ensure that only authorized personnel can access sensitive data. So when we have that MFA, is it effective? Because again, remember we spoke about SOC 2 Type 1 report as well as SOC 2 Type 2 report, SOC 2 Type 2 over a period of time. So when they're accessing the controls, they have that duration just to keep checking if this control has been consistent over the period of time. And that's why you can guarantee that it has passed. But just a one-time thing, we don't know the future of that control. And that's why this SOC 2 report, again, is still one of the most powerful reports. Okay. Also, providing access to information and personnel. USC must grant the service auditor access to all relevant information, such as records, documentation, and reports that are necessary for the examination. Additionally, USC must provide access to key personnel for interviews. You see, grant service auditors access to all relevant information. You can't say that, oh, you know what, I'm releasing partial information, we're going to maybe a little bit shady, keeping stuff for ourselves. No, everything has to do with transparency here. You have to be transparent, right? Whatever record, documentation, report that are necessary for this examination, they have to provide it. And remember, you also need to talk about responsibility. You have different stakeholders within your organization that needs to be interviewed. And of course, USC will need to provide access to those key personnel for any interviews that the external auditors might want to carry out. Say, for example, USC needs to provide the auditor with access to its security logs and internal audit reports, right? Yes, you have to do that. You cannot just say, you know what, I'm not going to show this. So you have to provide those information if at all you want to be in business, if at all you want to get customer, because if not, it's competitive, right? So if you're not doing that, they don't have the software report and you have all of these beautiful services that your entities want to use, but after performing their due diligence and they realize that you do not have it, I'll definitely want to go with somebody that have it. Again, remember your vendors' risks are your risks, right? What of disclosing key incidents or issues? USC also is required to disclose any significant incidents, such as non-compliance with laws, fraud, or uncorrected misstatement that might affect the services commitment or system requirements. It's important to just be transparent upfront. Anything that happens, there's no reason keeping that behind you. It will definitely come to light. So that's why it's important for them to disclose it, okay? And if there was an instance of unauthorized data breach, USC must disclose this and describe the impact it might have on their security controls. Because there's no point with you keeping stuff and then only to come find out that, you guys have not been truthful. Of course, they'll have to stop. And that's it. So that talk about management responsibility, but what of self-service organization responsibility? What of USD self-service organization responsibility? Remember, that's why we spent some time talking about Cape in, Cape out method, because that's why you need to understand what if USD have all these other self-service organization? What happens? I'll see you all in the next video. But as the tradition host, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.